let me be very clear. The easiest place to lose your faith in God, easiest is when you become ordained. When you're a clergyman, when you become a pastor, apostle, bishop, that's disastrous for your own faith.
This disorder is not somehow an anathema from the way the rest of society works. I've used the word anathema, sorry. But what I mean is, like right now, it's very hard to understand that there are more slaves than have ever existed before today. Right? But in our minds, we think slavery is done.
I wouldn't go into politics now because I think it'd be a waste of time. I just think politics has become so degraded. It's not worth it. I'd rather be in doing the coffee or something. Yeah. So I just think that it's not heroic or something. It's just that thing within you that you shouldn't just become cynical.
In traditional societies, a man who has children is not necessarily an adult. Absolutely no. You're not necessarily an adult. You are an adult if you're caring for them.
Think of the number of people who leave Uganda, for instance. They don't leave because they hate the country, but they leave because they're saying, I have one life. There's an abundance of things I want to enjoy. I want to have I want to have my kids go to a school that I think functions. I want to have the returns of the seeds I've planted.
Be interested in the things that are shaping the world that you're living in. And I think that's why, for example, that's why I was asking the question of what is the solution? What's the solution to Africa, right? So be interested, because I feel that has found me later in life. You grow up, or we're in a society where you grow up thinking about yourself, which is yourself and what you'll do after school and the little family that you'll have and the house that you'll build and the car that you'll drive. And, it's very, very me, until you realize that car that you drive and that house that you want to build have to be in a safe environment, and you have to have children that need to go to good.
We have to face it. The ugly statistics are more than the good ones. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Two Sages podcast. We are very happy to have you back with us. We hope you've enjoyed our previous discussion with our very first guest. And today we have made it double. We have two guests with us on top of the Two Sages. Today's conversation is going to be so electric. I've already felt the energy from our guests. So we'll start out with our usual tradition. We have a tradition where we share some kind of highlights from the last time we met.
Should they tell us first who they are?
No,
Yeah, also interested in these highlights. So, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You should tell us who they are. No, kidding.
Everyone is expecting that. So eventually that will come.
Oh, okay.
So how we start out is with a highlight. So you are going to share with us a highlight from your week or previous week. Then you tell us about yourself.
Why don't we start with the sages?
Everyone knows these guys.
That is to say, you're more interesting. Can you believe this?
Yes, you are the main people of the day. So
Yeah, beauty before age.
Hello. That's a nice one. So, something that highlight. Oh, I'm doing a coaching course. Yes, I'm studying to become a life coach.
Wow.
And that's and I have class. It's the first time that I look forward to class. Like when the class is going to happen, I'm like, I can't wait. It's such an amazing class. And it also, I think I was about to say it doesn't help, but it's also even better that the rest of my class is pretty, I don't know if they watch this, but they are much older. Not much, but a bit older. And so, but they are also more advanced career-wise. So a lot of them are like in top management and, CEO type. And then you're the one here who's just in normal life. And so all the time, like every time we're giving examples or we're talking about the people we've coached, I'm like, you guys, are we in the same class? Like, are we doing the exact same thing? So it's an amazing class. So I'm always looking. So I had one last week. I have one tomorrow, and so I'm really, really looking forward to it. I do a lot of coaching outside, practice coaching, which is also going really well. So,
what does a life coach do?
A life coach is a thinking partner. So I help you to think. not really about about a topic, about a particular thing you want to navigate, you then just get a coach to help you, to just be a sounding board. So they just really take you through the process of thinking so that you achieve something. Yeah.
I'm ready to sign up.
Wow.
Please.
We are with you.
Please.
See, this is a better way of introducing yourself. Now you can tell us about yourself.
Just
Oh,
put
yeah.
her email here at the
Yeah,
bottom.
I
You can
know,
contact
I
Now
her.
you
know.
can
Yeah.
tell us who are you and what
So
you
my
do.
name is Prima Atugonza. When I am not studying coaching and doing life coaching things, I'm a lawyer. I'm a projects lawyer. That's what I do. I am married. I am
One
a
person.
I'm married to one man. I am a Christian. And yeah. I think unless you have
Podcast.
yeah. Oh, I'm part of it's like I'm part of a podcast. We're part of What the Theory, and under What the Theory, the PPJ segment. Myself, our friend Pumla, and Joe, we do PPJ. Yeah, so that's me.
Wow, great. You're welcome to the Two Sages
Merci.
podcast.
Thank you.
Weren't you doing French also?
I'm doing French. I'm always studying. I have French on Thursday. I have coaching on Wednesday. But I'm studying French as well. Yeah.
It's very hard being Prima's friend. Huh? It's like always doing something. Highlight from this past week. I took some days off and went to
Switched off your phone.
Yeah, switched off my phone. Went to Holland Park in Ginger. It's beautiful, right on the shores of the River Nile. It's horseback riding, all of this kind of stuff. I was just in nature.
Did you go alone?
Of course not. Excuse me, it's my highlights. So I think the thing for me was feeling for the first time that I didn't have to rush. A lot of this year I've been feeling like I'm always behind on something, a deadline, or you wake up and feel like there are things that you need to get doing. But I just woke up. I didn't know what time it was. I didn't have my watch or anything like that. I just existed in nature. And at some point, I was looking out at the river and saying, I mean, who looked at this and thought, let's create Microsoft Excel? But here we are. Here we are. So yeah, it was very refreshing. And now I'm carrying some of that energy with me. The feeling I have is that there are very few things for which you need to rush. Just, move at a pace that makes sense for you. So for me, that's been the highlight.
That was 2 days ago.
That was, yeah, but
Let's speak
I'm
in
still, of
three
course, yeah,
weeks.
okay. Can you can you relax? My name is Joel Muhumuza. I am the CEO at Flyhub, which is a digital financial services hub under Standard Bank Holdings. My career has been in tech and finance for a while. I'm interested in philosophy. I started a podcast called What the Theory. At some point, I invited some of my friends to be on. That became PPJ. And yeah, I'm really interested to see what the day is going to be like. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And
I kind of have lived these many years. It's very rare when I feel I don't have to rush. How I have lost so much. So please give me the secret.
Just be where your
It's
feet
still
are.
hope.
Be where your feet are.
Okay. Yeah. Highlight of the week is my grandson. So he's
Which one?
totally amazing. The youngest of 8,
Okay.
which is phenomenal. So he's learning to speak words, and it's just fantastic. And the other day, he simply, in an excited way, rushed to me. He's only 1 year and a quarter, and he just rushed and said, "Jaja, tata, ta, ta, ta." And I was like, wow, rushed into my arms, and it was just, yeah, I mean, lovely, lovely. The other thing that amazes me about him, I'm really intrigued by him, is that he has a mind of his own. And he expresses it with some strength.
It's got your genes.
just like you.
He's just seriously, the way he resists. And it's just 1 year and a quarter. And I'm like, hello. So that's really been awesome. Lovely.
Is that different for you for your grandchild versus your children? Is the experience completely different with and the fascination, and is it different?
Absolutely, it's completely different. First of all, anytime our children ask me about their young times,
You've forgotten.
I refer to Theodora. I say, please ask your mother. So I don't have much memory of that time. It's not because I was rushing, but maybe. But maybe. So I think, you also there's a greater awareness of this new parenting. So it's fantastic. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Me? I didn't do anything interesting. Anything interesting. But I do wake up in the mornings, the sun rises over here, and you wake up in the mornings at 6:30, and they are, between 6 and 6:30, the sky is kind of pink, yeah, and the sun's coming up, and you're looking over Lake Victoria, and I just think, oh, wow, this is just actually the whole experience of being alive. And I think that because I've lived longer than anybody else in this room,
You are going to have to announce how much longer, because this
It was shy
this
to
is
ask. Thank you.
this is so important. because at a certain stage he might put me in my place. So
this friend of mine who's about, my goodness, he must be like in his late 80s now. And he talks about the numerator and the denominator, so as the denominator gets bigger, then,
the numerator.
well, the whole thing gets smaller. So I think actually, just what you're saying, Joel, just appreciating life sometimes, and just take it in the moment. But I don't think if I get too many moments, I'll be bored, so. And I was having a discussion with one of my business partners, and both of our wives have said to us, "But why are you doing that?" And you're like, well, "Yeah, but why not?" And it's kind of that, to me, life is that mixture. Maybe if you're a Buddhist monk or you're someone who's very, very good at meditation, you can slow your mental processes down and do all that. Otherwise, I think. And I don't think we're dissimilar in this. You have to have a mixture of the sort of action and the contemplation and the thinking. Did you say? I was interested in what you said about a life coach is somebody who helps someone to organize their thinking around a problem or a subject. And I was thinking, how's that? Because, I often am a mentor to people. I don't think I'm not a life coach then. I don't try to organize them. I just maybe give some of my own experiences and see how it maybe help them to connect things and so on. But yeah, I haven't done much, but I've been thinking, it's good to be alive. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So we have experienced lots of things together. Mm-hmm. I really need to experience this sunrise. So consider it done.
Consider
a
your
few
request.
nights here, when the sun comes up and we wake up in the same,
I think how he has asked on the podcast is like, please consider.
Exactly. For the public too.
You should come. You can come down to my farm. You get the same experience because you're on the hill and the sun rises, and you got that. And
it's lovely. It's
yeah,
great.
I don't think you've been there since I had the
I need to
the coffee lunch.
I really need to.
The farm. Yeah, the farm.
Yeah,
Coming to the farm.
Come to
Yeah.
the farm.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Wow, those are very great highlights. This week, I think it was last week, I learned about this thing called amplitude in life, and this guy was talking about like most people we think-
Amplitude.
yeah,
L-I.
The wave-
Amplitude.
amplitude, like the waves. Yeah,
Okay.
like we are sold this thing that life has to be very high, but he was saying, according to him, that every high comes with an equally low. So it's like it's like having
Like
highlights
cheerful.
as simple as starting a course or seeing a sunset or going away for it's like really good. So that's awesome. My highlight was a coincidence. I'm reading this book on how innovation can transform countries out of poverty. And I think I have this friend that I met in Nigeria. He's so obsessed with the Nobel Prizes. Every time for the Nobel Prizes, he posts about them. And so he posted about the one in economics. And coincidentally, the book I'm reading is about the work that won the Nobel Prize in economics this year. But the work that won the Nobel Prize is about how innovation actually takes countries out of poverty. Most my area of work, and these people's work was really about how it requires not just the innovations themselves, but they did an analysis of what cultures are needed, what kind of political climate is needed, and economics behind that, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. I just felt, I don't know why I felt good, like coincidence. I was like, I've been reading about this stuff. So,
I'm actually curious, David. You're always reading, you know. I can't remember you sharing a very light, other than I enjoyed this reading. I don't remember. It's just my confession. So, what,
I don't-
when you want to just,
Relax.
I know books are fun for you, so that's okay.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
take it.
I do a lot of other things. I was talking to my friend. He's at John Hopkins. He does AI, and he
You see,
listen,
get it.
listen.
This is the
I
light
want
one.
to
Get
show you.
it.
I
This
want
is
to
the
show
light
you
one.
what
light
else
one.
I do. So he asked me, this stuff can be tight. How do you keep up? I told him, oh man, I do a lot of stuff. I climb. If I was not here, I would be at the quarry climbing. Every Tuesday I climb. I swim on Fridays. I go to the gym. I
used to how he's
I
looking. He's like, I am.
He's blinking. I would be at the gym. I'd be climbing. I'd be
I
swimming.
play the
done.
guitar.
Okay,
and,
done.
Yeah.
Every Thursday.
Next time.
No. Once in a while, but
He's regimented in his
guys,
relaxation. It's all right. It's all right.
but okay,
He's
for
going
my
higher and higher.
for in my
If you are in
defense,
court, they'll say, what's
in my
going on?
defense,
David,
It's
breathe,
okay.
breathe.
We're here. It's fine. Fine.
I'm catching up for all the other deficits of readers in the country.
Shots fired.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Anyways, we
Well
get
done.
Shots
Including
fired.
quite a few here.
Shots fired.
So today's discussion is going to be about youth. I think we should start with laying ground for what that is. Either in terms of like the definition or from experience, not per se like dictionary wise. Maybe we should not talk age. I think most definition of youth has been around age, below this age, below that age. But I think with the way the world is changing, the context of age is changing a little bit. Maybe I'll bring out this. I wrote like a small computer program over the weekend to calculate the number of minutes. Like if you put in your age, it can tell you the number of minutes you've lived on the. So, okay, that sounds so hard, but like the context of age, I'm just laying for ground for us not to define it by like just age, like someone below 30 is youth and all that. But so I'll put it up to you. When you hear youth, what comes to your mind? What is the context for Africa here?
What is it? Africa is the young continent, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Youngest continent in the world.
Yeah, and Uganda, for some time, I think was the youngest country, or at least had the youngest median age. And to me, maybe from an economic standpoint, when you talk about someone being young, it's dependent in some sense on somebody else. That's the first thought I would have, that you're dependent either financially or you need somebody who's like taking care of you to some extent. And the other definition for me is that you still have way more ahead of you than you think behind you. Sometimes I still think I'm very youthful because I still think about the things that are ahead of me, the things that are to come. But I've also noticed over time that nostalgia starts to kick in. Like the minute the people I'm around are saying, "Oh, the good old days. Oh, remember when this was?" Like there seems to be more attractive behind you than there is in front of you. My parents are getting older, and now when they speak about, their future, it's in hushed tones. They don't speak in like, "Oh, I'm very excited about what's coming." It's like, yeah, yeah, we shall see what will happen. They don't put definite timelines there. It's dark. And yeah,
I think
You go slow on that one.
No, but there's one thing I want to say about that, because it's a mindset. I mean, youth I think is also a mindset. Because I mean, I'm chronologically I'm quite old, but I one of the things I've very much enjoyed about Uganda is the lack of stratification in age, and so I mean, of course, I'm in out of the university. It's full of young people. I work with young people like David here, and I think that I think not no, I'm not trying to sort of be I'm old and I'm not young, but there is a mindset of some people who they start thinking of themselves as old, and then they become old, and I think that's, you see that in people who retire in their 50s, so sometimes civil servants and so on, and so people ask me, well, are you going to retire, or are you retired and stuff like that, and that word, there's no chance of me ever retiring as such. I mean, I mentioned getting up and looking at the sunrise in the mornings. It's a privilege to get up and have purposeful life to live, and that comes in all kinds of shapes and forms. And so I think there is a mindset that you get some people who are, and stratification as well. And you get it more, I think, in white societies, to be honest. If you're in your 60s, then you talk to people who are in their 60s. Don't dare talk to somebody in their 40s.
what do those young whippersnappers have to say?
Yeah, can I ask you a question though? In terms of course, because there is, for me, youth is, I think my brain is stuck on 35 and below. So like the number actually works. But I don't think that people that are above 35 are old. Like I don't think it's youth then the elderly. I think that it keeps changing. But I wanted to ask the two of you in terms of, because you've lived much longer. So do you see your life as, or was there a point when you were like, okay, now at this point, I don't think I'm youth anymore, and then now I have entered somewhere else, and then I've entered some. Have you sort of like
Phases?
Yeah, phases, like those phases for your life.
Jack grew a white beard so he could be
know,
identified as an elder.
but he doesn't.
He's the most youthful white bearded.
Yeah.
So since he's targeting me,
You're going to target him.
absolutely. Yesterday I met him, and I haven't told him this. I was driving, and he was actually jogging. It was in the evening. So can you please say, how many kilometers did you run yesterday?
Not more than maybe 5 or 6 or 7, something like that.
You are looking serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. I shall not say anymore.
He still got it.
Drank beer after that.
Yeah, equalize. Keep yourself at status.
I think certainly for me, as soon as you talked about age and difference and so on, the person who actually came to mind was Martin Luther King Jr. And I was like, here is a man, I think he died in his late 30s. He was 38 or thereabouts. But my goodness, he achieved so much. There are several other examples. So that's what came to mind. But my life, Prima, I generally speaking think of my life a lot more in seasons. And what
defines those seasons?
What defines seasons? Absolutely. My family, where I am at. And it's amazing how when our kids were younger, our lives revolved around children in a way that is just phenomenal. And then when they went to secondary school. So in other words, yes, one of those defining things are children and their ages and where they're at. The other is transitions in terms of thought processes. They are marked, generally speaking, by changes in work. I am not that kind of person who stays or is at peace staying in the same work. So I do something and I think I'm done with it. I have grown. There's some things I have learned, and the place where I am can't hold me anymore. I'm getting bored. I just need to move on to something. So the seasons of my life, and I never think about them in terms of I'm old, I'm this. It's what do I offer? What can I? I mean, right now I'm very, very passionate about how my past has shaped my today. And I want to engage with people and be honest about my past. Because I said to people, please don't make the mistakes I made. Make your own. Do something different, So that's really where I am. I don't, that's how I think about it. I love, just for the record, I love to spend time with younger people. And by younger, I mean people who are either starting in their professions or in the middle of their professions. I find people who feel they have achieved professionally, I actually get bored. I don't know how to have conversations with people who feel they have arrived. So we have been at a conference and we had tracks in this conference. And one of the tracks was a CEO track. It was a track of CEOs. And I thought, how boring that track must be.
What have we done to
What do CEOs
Tell them so.
So I was like, no, I certainly wouldn't.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Interesting.
Do you want to add more on that?
No. It really was a question about if it's sort of phased. Yeah.
I have to ask something about what you said and what Ian said. Because you've mentioned things that are traditional markers for, you have a family, maybe you have work. Like there's sort of traditional markers that then socially people see you as an adult. Because you can think you're an adult. I thought I was an adult before the world saw me as an adult. Beating my chest as a 17-year-old saying, I can do what I want. And my dad was like, please, you don't even have
Sit
any money.
down.
You had to get a job. Like there's certain things you need socially for your self-identity to become something palatable. And you were saying something about reading the Nobel Prize piece.
Yeah.
And one of the I think it was one around sociology, the discovery that the traditional markers for people to move from one phase to another are disappearing. And one of the examples is like in China, there are millions of young men who cannot afford to start families. You rush to the city, you're trying to get something, but you can only, take care of yourself. And so you feel like it's not responsible for me to start a family because I need to have a certain, amount of money that I'm making, just like in Uganda. So there's, people who failed to launch.
But in Uganda, they start their families.
It's there. That's why the president keeps saying in Uganda you can survive somehow.
Just
He
throw
keeps
a
saying
seed
that,
in,
and we keep saying we're blessed. But there's still that feeling that I've not yet gotten to a certain spot, and I feel like maybe that's something we're going to touch on. Even with the people that I work with, I have a lot of people who are under 30, but there's a lot of anxiety. Anxiety that how am I going to get there? Which I don't remember having when I was coming up. I just felt it's gonna come. I was like, I'm gonna get there. But right now, maybe it's because things are you can see the world. You can see the world on your phone. And sometimes you can look and say, but where's my space?
Yeah.
And even when you look at the number of people who are still working, I have a colleague who keeps saying that when we talk about entrepreneurship, it's never the people who are entrepreneurs saying it a lot. It's usually people in the office. You should start a business. But they are not leaving the office to go and start the business. They're telling you because you can't find a job to go and do it. So I think the thing about youth is, I still think it's like what Uncle Zach was saying in terms of you like to spend time with young people. I think it's because there's still that hopeful horizon of it can be, I can do it, and that can show up when you can still be there when you're 50, you can still be there when you're 60, but the things which enable that socially, if they're not present, it's very difficult for you to hold on to that hope because you don't have any marker to say, now I have a family, or now I've gotten here, or now I've done my master's. Like there are certain notches you clear that are sort of a representation that I'm becoming an adult. And at least I know a lot of the ladies I know talk about young men who are stuck as young boys forever. They don't
Actually,
grow.
for me, I talked about family because it's critical.
Yeah.
However, I hope you didn't miss it. My thought processes have actually shaped my seasons more than anything else. I mean, just a quick example, when I served as a bishop in the city of Kampala, the general sense was from my people, my peers, you have arrived.
You've made it.
No, you have arrived. After once you finish, you wait.
There's nothing more.
No, stay through it till retirement. You're now a bishop, so we can look forward to your retirement because you've got there. I mean, people become bishops.
In Uganda, a bishop is next to God. You were there, Zach. You were there.
Unfortunately.
Then you backslide.
And let me be very clear: the easiest place to lose your faith in God, easiest is when you become ordained. When you're a clergyman, when you become a pastor, apostle, bishop, that's disastrous for your own faith, for the faith walk. But anyway,
when you're a bishop, do you, even after you leave, are you still called bishop? Once a bishop, always a bishop.
Yes. Until you are defrocked.
Okay.
What a word.
He's in short.
And you can put a proposal if you want, and they take you through a disciplinary process.
Okay.
So if any of you wants to make a presentation, I am ready for it. Anyway, so no, when I did, and this is the point, I was in church, I was a pastoral administrator, I was seeking to create problems, so on and on and on. I was in the company of this group of human beings, and 7 years into it, literally 6 years into it, I was done.
Yeah.
I was like, no. I came to the conclusion it's impossible to pursue the cause of justice as a bishop.
Yeah.
And I was done. I want to spend the rest of my life, pursuing the cause of justice, because of society and so on. So I think that increasingly, and yes, so my encounters in life. I mean, my first life, I encountered Uganda. I traveled the whole of Uganda, as a young, evangelist, all over Uganda.
Yeah.
Once I saw the whole of Uganda,
you were done.
I was done,
Yeah.
And I was like, so then I moved but it wasn't a process of now I have matured, no.
Okay.
And each of these stages, I really had the sense I needed to read something that would help me for it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so over the last 20 years, I have possibly read more books on politics and power as I started reading theology and so on. I realized to read theology is a trap. It really doesn't help you to understand society. So then I began to. So it's really thought processes have been things that I've been aware of and have determined to a large degree, but also my friendships, the people I hang out with, they really seem to shape how I understand where I am and where I need to be.
Okay.
Zach talks about seasons, and I'm always talking about the seasons of your life because those seasons. I actually have a theory that a season of your life lasts probably between 5 and 10 years. So you have a season of, say, being a student, and then you mentioned the normal seasons of family, if you have family and all that. But one of the things is our lives are like, we have building blocks in our lives, and so when Zach, he was a bishop, but he was a pastor. One of the things that I know that Zach is, and he's still a pastor. And sorry, commenting.
Wow.
No, but he is still a pastor because because this is one of the things that Zach wrestles with. He's very radical, but then he is a pastor.
Yes.
So that's what I don't struggle with.
Yeah.
But so you have
Yeah.
these, you pick up
Oh,
these
that's
bricks,
Yeah.
and they all go into making you what you are. And that's why, if somebody is wise and they're learning and stuff, they will become a man of substance or a woman of substance, and that's someone whom you realize that what they're speaking, because you can have people who are, they're doing motivational speakers and so on. And I find some people motivational speakers, they have a gift of speaking, but behind that you're like, but they don't have any substance, they really
Nice sounding.
they really haven't had that.
Yeah.
Because that substance sometimes comes through, the fire through the. I'm not saying that we all need to go through suffering, but I've gone through my share of suffering that I didn't want to, but it was kind of thrust upon me. I like a good life, but
I also know that. I was actually going to say here, just a footnote. Tragically, most preaching in churches today is motivational speaking.
It is. It is.
Tragically. And it's the motivational speaking that you just described. Too much passion and very little content.
Exactly.
It's painful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, you see, I keep calling on my brother here, but there's some of the things that you thought you knew as a younger person.
Yeah.
As you get older, you're like, maybe I would parse that differently, and so then you're like, oh goodness, what am I responsible for? But it all goes into, it's all part of our lives. It's all part of and I thinking about this whole thing of youth and the youth of Uganda, and what you're mentioning, Joel, about there are certain people who those markers, those traditional markers of when you went to university and then you got a profession and then you had a girlfriend and then got engaged. That's one of the things.
Why are you running before your face?
He never mentioned.
I know.
Exactly.
The guilty run before.
So those things, those rungs of the ladder have all been shot away, and it's not just in Uganda. Very much so in a place like Ireland, where the price of housing and is so high that people can't. They're living with their parents when they're. I think it's even worse in England, actually. But they're 35 years old. They're not married. They're living with them. And so all those things, it becomes because that's how the world is now. It's the gig economy. It's the very rich and it's crazy stuff. And I think in Uganda, you have this other mixture where you have a certain percentage of the population. I think of my housekeeper's son here. He's part of this household for so many years. He's like in his 30s now, and I was just thinking, and he's accomplished. He's in the IT field, and every time I'm inclined to say, so Stefan, any word of a girlfriend or getting married? Which honestly putting a lot of pressure on the poor boy, I'm sure. But I think of something like that who is accomplished, and maybe has the same syndrome. But then I think of all the young boys, and I really mean young boys around my farm, whom I employ, and they look about 16. They'll all say, no, I'm 24 and whatever, but they look terribly young. But then they're also fathers. These boys have also fathered children, and there's no structure to it. There's no sort of, I don't know about I should say consequences, but that means that we have a very. And Zach, you've talked a lot about, the traditional structures in Uganda in terms of family and whether it's polygamy or whatever it is, but there was a structure. But nowadays, I'm not seeing any structure to new members of our community being brought into the world. And that really bothers me. And I seem to be the only person it bothers. I wrote a column like 2 weeks ago about this thing, the sort of rapid population growth, particularly in rural areas, without any provision for their education, and to take them out of that poverty cycle. But no one seems to be bothered. I mean, sometimes Ugandans will just say, it's your problem, you're a white person, you're trying to stop us black people. Anyway. Yeah, so you have those sort of
No, yeah, it's
two sides of it. Yeah.
in part. I think it's also very hard to look like.
what are your thoughts in terms of potential solutions for something like that?
Well, I mean, honestly, going to the poverty end of it, the only solution is education. The only solution is, first of all, you need to have income generation. You need to be able to provide the infrastructure in terms of schools. Zach, this podcast I'm keeping referring to you, but you grew up in Kisoro, but it seems like you had a decent education, even if you were in your bare feet or whatever. But
At that time, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think one, you spoke about, and I want to tag the two, Joel and Ian. There's a way in which an economy, how and where and how and whether it functions, actually defines these transitions.
Yeah.
So when you say
Yeah.
dependent or not a dependent and so on, and Ian, what you're saying about structures within traditional societies, age was never an identifier actually of either youthfulness or adulthood.
That's true.
It was always about responsibility. Who are you responsible for? What are you responsible for? Can you show that you have some assets in life? So it was really a political economy, so to speak. The economy, and I think that something changed with modernity, in which youthfulness was being defined by completing university and so on and so forth, and then having children. No, in traditional societies, a man who has children is not necessarily an adult. Absolutely no. You're not necessarily an adult. You are an adult if you're caring for them. If you're taking them to school. In fact, in the traditional society, they would even sing about you. How reckless you are.
If you're deadbeat.
Because you went and had children, and you're not responsible. If you find somebody and you marry them, that's not evidence that you're mature. Because you must look after the one you've married.
Yeah.
And I mean, so and I think that needs to be said as, I would suggest, a corrective to the modern way of thinking. Because you have a house, you've built a house.
Yeah.
That's the question I was going to ask.
Because you've built a house. Because you have a degree.
Yeah.
No, I think the question of response, what value are you adding to society actually? That was it. What value are you adding to society?
Yeah.
And so I think that for me, so growing up, yes, rural boy, decent education. And one of the reasons is you had the governance of public life functioned. There was a predictability about it. There was a predictability.
If you go
I
here,
went to entire school.
Yeah. So you must make it.
I went to entire school. No, not that I must make it. But when I went to entire school, I was barefoot.
Yeah.
I did not have, my first pair of shoes was when I was in senior 3. But the kids with whom we were in class came from Kampala.
Yeah.
They came from Gulu. They came from everywhere.
Yeah.
And the equalizer was, can your brain take it?
education, yeah.
I had not switched on an electric bulb. My primary school, I had not seen or switched on light or anything. But I competed with kids who came from Kampala and grew up. And so there was a way in which education was an equalizer. It worked for everybody. And so I think what Ian says about the role of education can never be underestimated.
Yeah, maybe. And I have a question again to Ian on that point, right? And it's a genuine question, because I keep telling people that if I ever do a PhD, that PhD is going to try and answer the question, what is the solution to Africa's problem, right? And today I was actually texting people because I was in a meeting where we had advisors and all the advisors. So because the projects so many times are complex, we're looking for people who have all this experience, and they're usually from the West, and this particular meeting had only Indians. I said, this only Indians, like the team was full of only Indians. So I said, and I actually texted some friends of mine at work. I was like, you guys, was India colonized? Well, how come they moved so much faster than the rest of us? Like, how come for them it has worked? And so one of the things that disturbs me to the core is because I'm like, okay, fine. India was also colonized. It also had all these problems, but they moved faster. So I think I'm always saying, is the answer education? Is the answer because other people it's leadership? Is the answer to the problems that we're having, that poverty question? Is the problem leadership? Is the problem education? Other people say the answer is in access to finance and making sure there is money within the economy. So in my head, I'm always like, what is the actual answer? Because some people say they have actually gotten all that education, but because of the politics, they haven't been able to use that education. Other people say this leadership, we thank you for it. But if the leadership is so good and I have no education, then what we did? So for that's really giving you context of where
just a footnote. Her
Yeah.
question has made me get goosebumps
Uh,
because it's what I've been trying. You see, all the reading is trying to answer that for like the past 10 years. That's that question.
You've opened the can.
That's- yes,
You've opened.
but-
No, let's talk. Let's discuss.
But the thing is that it's all of the above, because one doesn't exist without the other. And sometimes, probably what you would want would be to see what's the structure.
Yeah.
If you do A, what does that result in that, and that results in that,
Yeah.
and so you can build. And I think we're in such a lack of structure at the present time in Africa
that you can't tell. Yeah.
that I mean. It's pretty much chaos. I mean, you just go. Well, sorry, let me speak of Uganda because
Yeah.
Uganda's more chaotic
Yeah.
than some other countries. And listen, I'm not denigrating this country that's
Yeah.
adopted me and that I love. But you just have to go on our streets today, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary. The lack of any sense of order. And that's because of this Boda economy. He wants for Kampala just to be a Boda city, and then the rest of us can sort ourselves out.
What?
But no, well, that's it. So
I will defend myself.
so in order to build anything, I mean, one of the things as a doctor I realized is that sometimes you want to go and help people. We have had through my almost 40 years now in Uganda, there was that conflict in the north. I came in first into Luwero, but when I came into Luwero, there was peace. It was really peaceful, and so we were able to do something. And I would look north and I would be, thinking, oh my goodness, the way the people are suffering. But you couldn't go into the north when Coney was.
Yeah.
So the first thing that a society needs is security, and often the NRM and the government would say, well, we've given you security, and I think Ugandans appreciate that. But so then you start to build structure. But that structure should result in, like, if I'm a doctor, but thinking from an economic point of view, because for the supply of medicine, you need to be able to have some sort of structure that people can afford to get the medicine. And as I was said earlier, sometimes Uganda seems to be like two worlds. There's this world that is talked about and maybe is in the
Ideal.
The ideal, and then there's the real. Okay, so to give you an example, a good example is there was a presidential CEO forum in Fort Portal, because Fort Portal is tourism city.
Tourism city.
And so it was one, and all the two regions went up there and so on. And the president couldn't come, but the prime minister came. And the prime minister flew up by helicopter because the road is so bad you can't get to the city.
Yeah.
So those are the
Right
two
there,
realities.
yeah.
We have tourism city,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
can't get to
Can't
it
get
because
to
the
it.
road is so broken up.
Yeah.
And the prime minister has to come back up by helicopter. And there's so much that one is dealing with, and you say, look, let's just build a bit, And I think I look across to Rwanda, and it's much more authoritarian regime. But the guy, he does tend to say, if we've got a program, it's going to be implemented. And so I suppose people know where they stand. So what do you? And I can't answer this question.
Yeah.
It's multi-layered.
Yeah.
It's so multi-layered. And do you get further with what I would call a chaotic democracy, or a chaotic?
One
I'll not use other words, actually. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But or a more autocratic type of regime.
Like the Singapore example.
Yeah.
They always bring up Singapore and say,
Yeah.
Lee Kuan Yew said at some point, like, look, I'm going to drag this country into modernity. And often the comparison is made, like you made the comparison of India. And funny enough, yesterday we were talking to an Indian and a Chinese person, and they were saying at a certain point, the Indian gentleman was saying that he came to Uganda because of all the billion people that are in India, you can find hundreds of millions doing well, but you'll find other people living in the worst squalor ever. Like people go into the sewers to clean still up to now. And that's where he came from. And he says those two worlds are not disconnected. And his point, which I think still stands, is this disorder is not somehow an anathema from the way the rest of society works. I've used the word anathema, sorry.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like right now, it's very hard to understand that there are more slaves than have ever existed before today. Right? But in our minds, we think slavery is done.
Yep.
So it's when you look at whenever there's disorder somewhere, somebody is benefiting from it. And when you try to break apart, that's when you see that resistance come. And often I think the well-meaning people, because when I worked in development, you'd go and say, yeah, we're going to give these people access to finance. Yeah, we're going to give these guys education. But then you suddenly realize that now we have a lot of educated people with nothing to apply their education to. Because if I've been trained to be an office worker, for instance, how am I going to get that? Okay, become an entrepreneur. How am I going to get access to finance? Like there's structural issues. And then that's why I think that the point where those changes are going to come isn't just changing here. It's changing who benefits from here. Like right now, in Ginger, when you see the way the supply lines go, it's very extractive. The roads are going to move in a certain manner where you'll say, oh, we're getting like, say, maybe if you go to Kasese, we're going to go and get copper from here and we're going to extract it, because in Ginger, you see the railroad, the East African railways and how it was designed. You'll see it is largely about extracting stuff. And I don't think we left that structure. What we're trying to do is now build something that is going to work for everyone, but on a very shaky foundation. At least that's my perspective, because they're very smart people. I mean, how clever are you? How clever. You're like, we're working on so many things to try and change, but we always get befuddled by what's going on. And I think the danger is sometimes then you fall into, maybe there's something wrong with Africans. Like it's very easy to fall into that mindset of maybe there's just something wrong with these people, which for me is the most dangerous bit. And why I thought it was dangerous, because this gentleman who was talking to me yesterday from India he got into a place where he said, I think my people we are not good for anything. But when he looks at it now, he's saying there's a Silicon Valley that they've built and gone to. So I think it's more a socioeconomic change, but it's a very complex thing.
One of the things that I think that in Uganda we need to apply, I've said about the two levels of Uganda, and there's the guy who, he's still a dependent because of the, he hasn't a house and can't get married and all that sort of stuff. And then there's the rural poor. But I think it's really important that, especially us, the people who've had the opportunity, we actually do something with them. And I think that the development of Africa, yes, the big questions of leadership, big questions of the political economy, of force of arms, control of the population through the military and so on. But what about the individual? Because that's where you come from. And so if you as an individual can say, I feel like I am putting my mind and my energy into a certain problem and making some difference in that area, then I think that to me is a person of substance. That is someone who is contributing to the change. And I one of the things that I would find frustrating is you get, okay, let's call them the political classes or the aspiring politicians or wherever, they're all saying all these words to please the people and to make promises and all that, many of which are unrelated or disrelated to reality. But then you have the intellectuals as well, and the economists and, developmentalists and all kinds of people who also talk a lot.
Abstract.
Yes, talk a lot and analyze very, very smart people and analyze, are much smarter than I am, and then they analyze to the nth degree what our issues are. But there's no, just like, okay, what's the solution? Because even if you're doing a little bit, you still move forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And it may be maybe very, very huge issues that one is looking at. But I think Africans are good people, and they are. It's a very big generalization, but what I mean is,
People are people.
and the people I meet, they're often really amazing people, and so. But there are many of those good people who are they're also befuddled. They're not not making the difference.
Yeah, the environment.
So I possibly will come from this in a totally different angle from all of you. I don't think it's rocket science.
Okay.
In my view, it is simple. I think it's leadership.
I saw that coming.
There was a secondary school whose performance was just anything but horrible. And every metrics, every indicator for progress of that particular school was really, it had been going down. And then a decision was made, change the head teacher. And I can tell you, in 4 years, it was a different school. In 4 years, it was a different school. I am persuaded that leadership creates culture. Things don't just happen.
Yeah.
Leadership creates structure. Leadership creates an environment in which people thrive. Now there are leaders who choose to lead by fear. And we have many of them. And I can assure you, any leader who leads a people by fear, it's not sustainable. It is sure to crumble. It might be seen, the roads are done, and so on and so forth. So I will judge leadership by the way in which it creates a culture in which people flourish, people become their best. The reason we speak about education and what it is one of those indicators of good or bad leadership.
Okay.
So Uganda's education system is horrible. It's evidence of horrible leadership. Uganda's healthcare system is as it is. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
Now, all societies, my reading of history, go through phases of being conquered or conquering. All societies. All societies are crafted through processes of migration, and people migrate to opportunities. The other thing that has really surprised me is how immigrants often lead the quote-unquote indigenous, the people they find there, because they have an understanding of the risks that they face.
Yeah.
So there is a way in which certain experiences form certain leadership qualities. And I think good leadership is very intentional on what experiences you open, and education is one of them. So I think it's that simple. I don't think it's that complicated. I think that leaders create economies. As Ian has told you, I am very focused right now. I try to read Africans before the invasion of the Europeans. Things worked. My grandmother lived up to 106 years.
Yeah.
My grandmother. She had not visited a modern healthcare facility. She had access to herbs. She knew how the world worked with herbs. Modernity came. My father's generation, who survived the earlier childhood diseases, lived much longer than my generation.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I think if you go to traditional society, there is some lessons that we can learn from there. Humans don't change. Circumstances change, but human beings essentially are, and human beings, I think, must be led. So I think let's grapple with it. It's the quality of leadership that we have. We can't blame it on foreigners.
Yeah.
I think, as you say, whether it's India, I just came from, I was in the United States. I just came from Cape Town. When I came from Cape Town, I was like, this shouting about Cape Town, it's the most unequal. I went to the shanty towns of Cape Town, and I was like, what kind of leadership do we have here in this country? Why are Africans in squalor in South Africa?
So much
And
abundance.
let's face it, it's leadership. And if you don't, so for me, it's that simple in my view.
Let me actually, I think I'm saying the same thing as you because I feel like we are all leaders. And I feel like that's where I'm shifting it back again. We can say leadership, and you look at the political leadership, you look at the various
Position.
leaderships. You mentioned the school. It was a headmaster. So that particular example, you can be a humble teacher. It's a very great profession to be a teacher. But I think all of us as individuals needs to say, how am I now exercising my role as a leader in the society? Because
But Ian, you can't take away, there are people we entrust.
No, I'm not saying that. But you see the thing.
So not everybody is entrusted, Ian.
No.
No, I have a problem when you say everyone is a leader.
No,
Yes.
you're for sure. I know that there's a lot of big issues that we can't deal with. But it doesn't take the responsibility away from us to take up our role. And that's
I
what
agree.
I'm making the difference what Margaret Thatcher called the chattering classes. And the people who really make a difference. Why did I go into politics 10, 15 years ago? And why did I not go back into politics again today? Because at that time I felt I could make a difference by cleaning the drains. Okay, and by the time I had finished, I thought, well, I've done what I can, and I could see that the budgets and so on wasn't going to go very far. I thought maybe I can do something at national political level. I found I couldn't because I wasn't in that party thing. Now people have come back.
Ian,
Wait a minute.
the story is you attempted to be a member of parliament, okay? And I think to simply say you couldn't be leader at the national level, I think it's not only unkind to yourself, because you're a national leader, you're a business leader. I think we name it. You are not as corrupt.
What I'm saying is that it didn't stop me being a leader subsequent to that. It's because of my leadership as in business. I decided to go into coffee. I decided, maybe my journey was not, sometimes you don't exactly know what the next step is. So, I went from healthcare, I went into farming. From farming, I went into coffee. But now I'm quite passionate about coffee because I can see the difference it can make in terms of income for people's lives. And so that's exercising my leadership in that.
And maybe I think Uncle
I'm sorry to blow I'm not blowing my own trumpet.
No, it's an example.
We have this
It's worth blowing, don't worry.
No one else is gonna blow it, so.
Blow away, yeah. I definitely, of course, agree with you on the issue of leadership. The danger, though, which is what also Joel was saying, the danger with, I think, overly concentrating on it, especially when there is only so much that you can do. Of course, you can talk and you can influence and you can do all those things, that it's very easy to become cynical. It's very easy to become cynical. And it's the same thing. I work in development, right? And when you work in development, the things that you see, you're just like, you people.
You're staring in an abyss.
What are we going to do? Or even if I actually remember there's a time I worked in the NGO world for a little bit and I ran out. I ran out of the NGO world because I could not believe the corruption. And I remember there's a day we actually met at one of those offices and you told me, Prima, you're in this? I'm like, I'm here. I'm in this, there was so much corruption. And it's very easy to get, and for me, again, especially career-wise, I think every time I go to a place, I'm like, what here can make a difference? I went into like normal corporate law. I was like, nah, this is not going to work for me. So I left. I went into the NGO world. It didn't really work. I left. I've gone into development and I can see what it's doing. It's exposing, but it's also helping. So the problem though is that sometimes you can very easily concentrate on a thing. And then if you analyze it, and you're just like,
So
we can't do anything.
a very quick one, and it'll be very quick. It'll just be quick.
Yeah.
One, I said, good leadership creates conditions, spaces, cultures, structures that enable flourishing. One of the things that is evident, not just here, Europe, anywhere else, is the disempowering of individuals. The cynicism that you just described is a direct result of bad leadership. Now, citizenship. One of the things that died in our countries is citizenship. There's no sense of responsibility. Consumers.
we're
Of course,
consumers
it began
before
long
citizens,
time ago. So, absolutely, I don't take it away. I totally agree with Ian that one of the problems of our Uganda is that people don't do what they should do in their spaces of influence. I totally agree. Because there would be a collective, you know. So when I say leadership, I talk about entrusted authority.
at different ranks.
At different
all the way.
ranks. And they need to work. And they work together. And each one of us must play their part. I can't be a foolish, hopeless, whatever, father, husband, grandfather, and all the other things, or whatever. I say, by the way, to people in churches, one of the reasons churches are what they are is congregations. Our congregations worship pastors. What do you want them to do? So we have horrible congregations because they have been taken away from the core of what does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus. Pastors tell you, come to me if you want to listen to God. Total rubbish. That's not what it is. So those pastors disempower. Okay. So the people in the congregation have the responsibility to hold their leaders accountable. If you don't hold leaders accountable, they play games with you. So I think I totally agree. But it's still this instinct, my last comment, about agency. Agency. Each one of us, I totally agree, must. However, those entrusted to manage public life must account because they create education systems. Our education system is as it is, not by accident.
So I think I want to make a comment. I want to make a comment on the story of the head teacher. I think like leadership is really, really key. But you see, it was that head teacher who was good enough.
As the individual.
Yeah, like we need the leadership, but the leaders come from individuals. It comes from these people becoming the best versions of themselves. I want to say that I buy Isaac's argument, and it's because there is need for people to call out leadership, and I think that's like his work. There is need for such people.
Say it loudly.
What did she say?
As we fear, which is a point we are going to put.
Because there is need
There are
for people
consequences.
to call out leadership.
So, no, as soon as you say, I fear, okay,
Yeah.
take responsibility for your fear.
Yeah.
So when you're ruled badly, don't complain.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we've reached.
But then
Like,
we want to have the highlight that Dr. Ian had. We want to wake up and see the sunrise. Please.
actually, yeah, that's
We want to see the sunrise.
that's the thing. If you want to live a great life, it's actually a big point. Let's say you are on the cusp. If you're privileged enough to have gotten an education and seen things, you think of the number of people who leave Uganda, for instance. They don't leave because they hate the country, but they leave because they're saying, I have one life.
I know.
There's an abundance of things I want to enjoy.
Totally.
I want to have I want to have my kids go to a school that I think functions. I want to have the returns of the seeds I've planted. And if you look through history, like you said, as you're a student of history, so many people had to fight for things that they would never see in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Like the African American experience for me, when I saw it, how people had to fight knowing I'm not going to see the end of this thing. I think we hope that we're going to see the fruits of what we're going to plant. But I think the scary thing that we all fight to admit is that maybe I won't see the fruits of this thing, but it's still worth fighting for. Now, the question is, how do you maintain that it's still worth fighting for? To have like a fruitful failure. You're going to keep pushing and failing, but maybe it's going to allow for someone else to come, which is why I ask about the individual. Because if you start the story at the individual, my question is, where did that person come from?
Yeah.
What were they bathed in? What angst made them go, you know what? This is unacceptable and I cannot sit quietly. What made Ian say, for instance, I've stayed where I am, humbly enjoying my spoils, but I'm not getting into the arena.
He actually was driving a Mercedes-Benz in the UK. And then he came here and went to the bushes of
You
Luweero.
see, and that's that's most of the things where you see it's usually they'll call it a class traitor, someone who has the benefits of the cream of that society usually has to then come and say, no, this is not right. And I'm going to use my access and my privilege to make changes happen. Meaning you have to suffer things you don't necessarily have to suffer.
But I really haven't suffered. I came to Uganda, and this has been a country that's been very good to me. We were talking about this earlier. Do I have that privilege of being white privilege?
Privilege versus Ian Clark privilege.
It is a class, both. Is that the name of
So
university?
I haven't done much suffering, but I do think that there is something in all of us that can say this is worth pushing for. I believe in this. What I was going to say, I wouldn't go into politics now because I think it'd be a waste of time. I just think politics has become so degraded. It's not worth it. I'd rather be in the
active sector.
doing the coffee or something. Yeah. So I just think that it's not heroic or something. It's just that thing within you that you shouldn't just become cynical.
Yeah.
And that headmaster makes it. How many school teachers have made differences? Or just doing your thing. I mean, it's great. I'm lucky in the sense that I met somebody today, and this guy said to me, he said, 20 years ago, I was probably 25 years ago, he said, and he told me this whole story about how he was working for an NGO. He's Ugandan, and he had been working up in the north, and the guy had got really, really bad malaria. And then he came to, so the guy was in really bad shape, which is unusual for a Ugandan because of some immunity. And when he came to me, it was like the number of parasites it was the highest number I'd ever seen. Anyway, so obviously the guy survived. I gave him an injection, and then he got on the treatment for malaria. That's a great story for me to hear 25 years later. So I was very, very fortunate to be doing things that have given that tremendous amount of satisfaction. And I think Zach, you're so right. People like us should run a mile from cynicism. That's find something. If you're going, the other thing is, I don't think there's any issue with people going to America, going to Britain. I came from Ireland to Uganda.
Yeah.
It was a really good change for me. I was probably going to be a real boring GP back there, and grumpy old man. Okay,
You find a way of thanking us
thank
for giving you a good life. No,
Like
because,
having us over here to see the
too many-
sunrise.
No, please let's first milk this one. Let's milk it. Too many of your group. They come
enjoyed
here.
the
No,
abundance.
they've come here. They have saved us.
They've had a great
Without
time.
them, we would not have. Thank you, Ian. We have given you a good
A good
life.
Really
life.
have. Really have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I just think that applies to all human beings, and you don't have to, you said you're Abidjan, where's your headquarters?
Yeah. Abidjan.
So, it doesn't really matter. I don't think people have to feel guilty. I went, to your point, Joel, I wanted to live my best life, and I wanted to go to wherever it was. I'll not say American, and I don't think.
I mean, we'll see what's
and I
happening.
did it. So I just think, we can all contribute wherever we are, and love your
But
country.
yeah, don't you think there is something called value of values? Because I think you are. What did you say?
I said Bishop.
Rubbish.
The
It's
wheel within a
nothing to
wheel.
do. It's nothing to do. No. So we have our young people. Let's talk young. We're talking about young people, and young people are fleeing this country in search of opportunities. That's what it is, in search of opportunities, and that's what young people should do: seek for opportunities. But where are they going? They are going to the Middle East. They are going to. I can tell you, I was in California. I met a young Ugandan who had a professional qualification, but she wasn't paying. He decided he would go to the US through various means. Don't ask me how. The people that President Trump is pursuing, who he's arresting on the street. What do they call them? Undocumented. And I like to ask these white people, when they first came here, they were not documented.
There were no passports.
Were they
They were
documented?
undocumented. They came and conquered us. I really need to deal with this. They came like missionaries. They came like missionaries. They came like explorers.
Completely
Undocumented. So
It's well documented, though.
well, it's well documented.
Well documented, though. Yeah.
No, we need that documentation too. So I meet this young man, and he couldn't make it here. So he sought for opportunities. When he got there, what was he doing? He's literally ferrying suitcases of G nuts and so on. I am a beneficiary of his G because I love ground nuts. I love the roasted ones.
Yes.
So he said,
We're supplying.
he's a supplier, suitcases. But he actually told me, he said, I am here, but I can tell you, Zach, it is impossible to make it here under 15 years.
Yeah.
Because of who you are. So I think we want to also be able to say to the younger people, there are places and people that look like they're opportunities.
Yeah.
But actually they are, a ditch. They are a rabbit hole. So I think that the questioning for the younger generation is to be much more discerning that in this period of so much pressure, when structures have collapsed, it's actually behoving upon this younger generation, in my view, to be much more discerning. There is nothing you can take for granted. Because the person who gives you a job, most Ugandan employers, I'm so sorry to say, are abusers. Start in the home. Domestic servants. We abuse domestic servants. We don't, people are paid 50,000 in domestic work, And of course,
go
we
to
go to our
school,
leadership
they
and we
don't
say, why don't we have a minimum wage?
don't we
So
really
I think that the younger people need to be more discerning. So you are a young person in the UK, you are a GP, you are young, and you definitely are looking for opportunities that fulfill your passion in life. And it's Uganda. And you come here, you've made it. So I think that's the advantage of age for us and experience is to actually look back and say, there are some that look like they're opportunities, but they are actually not opportunities at all.
Yes, I like that. Before I take our conversation elsewhere, I want to give the story of how Two Sages ends up. I was grappling with a question that Prima told us of how the solution for Africa, and through at that tail end of my medical school, I was like, I'd started writing a book. I'm halfway through it. I was like, I think the answer is in how people think and see the world. Yeah, and in that way of thinking, if it is the right way, then you have someone that becomes the best version that they can be. And if you have enough cohort of those people, like if you have enough people who are the best versions of themselves, teachers, doctors, entrepreneurs, politicians, then everything works out really, really. So that's when I was like, wait, what do I do? Okay, not many people read the book, but people are watching. So I do a docu series. That's when I started the documentary, and we featured Dr. Ian Clark, and I think um, thousands of people watched it because the YouTube got 2,500 subscribers and all that. But I'm trying to say that there are other people who get such ideas that could make a change. Like my decision to say that I will start this thing without funding, as an intern, that thing was not funded by any NGO, but I was like, I have to do this. And I did that. And there have been dominoes to us being here. So imagine 100 other people doing such things that end up accumulating like that. But anyways, I want to bring this back to the conversation of
And I don't want to miss it. There is something that you are able to do as a young
person. Yes, that's where
There's
I'm
actually
going.
something.
Yes, because at that point my rent is low. I don't have to pay education. So if the little money that I can get, I can put it into this podcast, and I won't go broke. Yeah. And
And even if you went broke, you
I won't die.
you come to Ian's house and he'll give you the meal for the day.
I didn't know Ian, but where I'm going to is why I think youth is an important um, point in life to discuss. It's that is the, I think, from the definition that he gave us. You're still dependent, like someone still taking care of you. We got that definition of age. But for me, what it comes to is that this is the point at which you're able to do so much. Yeah.
You're allowed to experiment.
Yes,
You can try.
you have a lot of leeway.
try.
You have a lot of leeway to try. And so this is, I would
And when
say,
you fail, the consequences are not as dire.
I would say this is when potential is highest.
Yes.
This is when potential is
Potential is
highest.
the highest, yeah.
And that takes me, I just want to share some statistics. We mentioned that the median age of Uganda is 16. And 50% of the 50 million people in this country are less than, I think it's less than 18 years.
18.
They're less than 18. So you would say Uganda has this just potential. Yeah. And it's the same for Africa. And we see that there are all those stats showing that this is where the highest potential is. The other parts of the world, their potential is like going down. But at the same time, my interests, my work is in AI, so I read a lot and listen to these guys in AI. And one of the biggest factors for how AI will end up is energy, because
Energy consumption,
the data centers that fuel this AI are based on energy. And I was looking around like the energy sector of Africa. We 85% of the world that doesn't have electricity is on this continent. So that means that where the highest potential is, there's the least there's the least energy. Like our continent has 29% of the global potential for solar, but we only use like 2%. And I started out with the good statistics. I'm not giving you the bad ones. The last bad one is one of the worst things in the world is like war. Like we've talked about this, how war is just bad for everything. It's the worst thing. In last year, there were around 61 state-based conflicts. 21 of those are here, where we have the most potential. They don't make the news, but the most war is here. The most war. So there are all these things, these facts about how
And what were the good statistics?
we have
It was so long.
That one like this. I thought you had more.
Oh, we need put some more to balance the both.
You can't end depressed.
Let's run away from cynicism.
Like that for me, that statistic, young people is like
Oh, dear Lord.
overshadows every bad thing.
Well, let me go back to this education thing again, back to your questions. Because you said leadership is so important, but I feel like we're thinking about potential for young people. What you said, people going to Saudi Arabia, going to Dubai, going to sort of modern forms of slavery. But these poor girls from wherever they come from, and they end up in domestic servitude in some of these other countries. It's because they have no options. Now, and that's become a big source of revenue coming back into Uganda. Now, if you take, let's go back to coffee again. I believe that the potential for coffee in Uganda is I'll not say it's unlimited. There's no such thing as unlimited, but I believe that we're not tapping the potential of markets and growing coffee, realizing their potential at all. But a lot of what's happening in Uganda, a lot of those young people in rural areas, they sell a bit of land, they get some money, and they go and ride a motorcycle, and so they get into the boat economy. Now, I was thinking about these guys riding motorcycles. They get cash every day. But where does that cash go? I think a lot of it goes into betting shops.
Sports betting. It's a big thing, yeah.
And why is that? When you go back again, you find that that's ignorance. if they really, knew that they could take their earnings, and if they reinvested their earnings, they could then put that back into coffee farming or something that's a productive thing in the long term. But they don't actually know. They're very, very ignorant. When I say ignorant, I'm not denigrating the people. I'm just saying they just have
You
not
don't
been
know.
get you.
You don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
And you've got many, I would, for me, the first thing I would do if I was in government would be ban all betting shops in Uganda. To have casinos if you want, rich people like Joel can go there and invest in money. But to take the money out of the hands.
Unfortunately, they are located at where border states. It's like every border state has.
So this is ignorance. This is But now I'm not saying that you will change habits, but a few little tweaks there could actually put money into something that's productive. Coffee. They did a survey of the coffee farmers in Uganda. I think I read about this thing about 6 or 7 years ago. Most coffee farmers, when you take good, mediocre, and poor coffee farmers, most fall out mediocre or poor. Because of the lack of productivity, the lack of pest control, the lack of good agronomic practices, including eating picky. And people don't know. They don't know that if you prune your trees, some are doing it, with better education. You can, instead of getting a miserable amount of, a few kilos from your coffee, if you plant it properly and do the right things, your productivity can go up tenfold. And so you could shift. So people realize you don't actually have to go into Saudi Arabia. You could actually just do your coffee plantation better. And you could be producing an awful lot more money within Uganda in these things. But people are migrating off the land, going into bungalows. That money is going to sports betting shops. They're going into Saudi for domestic. And yet it's sitting there in front of us stuff. There's not just coffee, there's cocoa. There's not like a big as well. And I'm looking at things that are exportable. I don't think there's much point in teaching people more tailoring because there's only a limited market.
I agree.
With the global supply chain.
I wanted to just make a quick comment. For one, from experience, I regularly take border. And one of the reasons I do is stories. And I will have a conversation with the person riding. How long have you done this? What have you benefited from it? Actually, what is true, that there are quite a number of men who've built little homes, who've paid school fees, who are responsible. So I think let that be out there as well. I think that one of the things I would say, back to your earlier question, that lacks in the generation, and I hear you on the individual effort. Individual efforts work within particular environments, and we can't deny environments. Where I was going to go is that rather than hope that the current political class, and by the way, another footnote, a study was done by a research student from Makerere and actually reflected on how border is a political class.
Absolutely.
Is part of the political class. I would make the argument that to have the betting near the border stages,
it's not an accident.
It's not an accident.
Absolutely not.
It's constructed. It's already, I was talking to my friend Prima here, how I was, one of the most transforming readings I ever did was The Prince, Machiavelli. Yeah. Yes. It really changed the way I see things. I realized that poverty is a project. Because in order to control a people, keep them poor.
Have them focused on their immediate
And
needs.
so, where I was going to go is that rather than hope that somebody is going to do it, I think one of the other advantages of youthfulness is organizing. Young people can organize. And I think one of the things that's lacking in the youthfulness of today, young people are being organized. They are not organized. They're not organizing.
Hallelujah.
Somebody is organizing you. Somebody is telling you, come and be, and they even have the courage to say, my youth, my youth. I think that what young people must say, we are not anybody's youth. This is our youthfulness. It will not be stolen. So I think youth organizing becomes critical. I think it's something that has been lost in the public school system. I learned organizing at Makerere.
Yeah.
as a young student. I learned organizing in high school. I learned organizing in high school. And let me tell you, the future belongs to the organized.
We're not outnumbered, we are unorganized.
I'll clap for that. I'll start for that because you are answering exactly that closing question that I wanted us to deal with. I gave one good statistic, and then there is a they're good. They're more good statistics. They're more good. We have great lakes. We have great food. Oh my god! I think the best thing.
For now.
Statistics.
Gifted by nature.
Those statistics.
Gifted by nature.
Statistics. We have great lakes, good food, bad
Those are-
we
Those
have-
are
But
statements.
what did we do to have great lakes also?
yeah.
Why are you
We
doing
rolled
this?
into
Why are you doing
them.
this to us?
We were born.
But the like we have to face it. The ugly statistics are more than the good ones. And the question that I was going to ask is what the youth have to do to change this, because this is not permanent. This is something that can change. And Ian has told us about going into agriculture with a more with better direction. People not looking at their farms as something that is like you just plant and it will grow and it will be good. Like going an extra mile. And you've mentioned organizing. So that's how I wanted us to conclude today's discussion. I don't know if you want to add anything, but before I want to start with Prima.
Yeah. I think mine is, and clearly it's really come out of this discussion as well. I think it's be interested, right? Be interested in the things that are shaping the world that you're living in. And I think that's why, for example, that's why I was asking the question of what is the solution? What's the solution to Africa, right? So be interested, because I feel that has found me later in life. You know, you grow up, or we're in a society where you grow up thinking about yourself, which is yourself and what you'll do after school and the little family that you'll have and the house that you'll build and the car that you'll drive. And, you know, it's very, very me, until you realize that car that you drive and that house that you want to build have to be in a safe environment, and you have to have children that need to go to good schools. And so I would say, I would think that as the youth, you need to be interested and then do something about what you find out, right? So for different people, some people you can write about what you find out. Some people you can do research and give data to the talkers, right? You can do the agriculture that we're talking about. You can, but be interested in all these different things that shape the world that you're in, and then do something about it. Yeah.
That's great.
I think as Uncle Zach was speaking, I think that the thing that has been lost, I think they talk about community, and our generation, I think, has false community in social media. We connect digitally, but it's more like 1,000 people looking through a window. You're like alone together. So we can march to Parliament and we all tweet, and you feel like you've done something. Yeah, we are here, we are support, but it's very hard for us to come together. I mean, just even thinking to say, let's do a trip together. It's becoming increasingly difficult for a collective of people to organize and do something. I think that's where any group that starts to amass, even here, the public order management thing, the first things that are attacked are how do you come together physically? Because when I attend a meeting, I see your pain. You're not a figure just on the screen. I am forced to interact with you and understand that, oh, okay, may I have something that I can help you with? In your community, there's probably someone who can help you with legal advice, probably someone who can advise you right next to you. But living in this city, you're just about your business, even when we're talking. So maybe when you notice me saying, I understand the power of an individual, but an individual is only as powerful as the society in which that person is in. Because the minute you ask about who that individual is, you will begin talking about their social responsibilities. They're a father, they're a brother, they are a doctor. They have something that connects them to the community. Only a beast or a god can live outside of community. But for us, we have a sort of false
Actually,
community.
don't abuse beasts.
They are solitary beasts that
No,
can live
well,
alone.
yeah, but they are solitary.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah, so those ones. I think the major point is we'll probably start by fixing the things that are close to you.
Yeah.
And once you try to fix those things, you realize what resistance you're up against. But you'll also see there are more people that are with you. And it's very hard to organize. It's really difficult, I won't lie. And sometimes I think the pressure that we put when we say, these young guys have to do something. I have a younger sister who keeps saying, this pressure, man. We're the ones who are going to solve the country. We're the ones who are going to, what are you old fools doing? But then I also read like what's happening in Nepal. Read what's happening in Madagascar. Like people are getting fed up, and that being fed up has to leave just your own small circle of life to going, hey, we have something in common. Because trust me, the people who rule this world have their interests in common. They're very organized. They're very organized. You will see, I work in banking. Banking is very organized. If you're to start a circle right now, you hear someone say, I'm going to start my own financial security alone rather than collectively. That collective bit is really powerful because once you're part of a collective, you get to get the benefits of all the plural strengths that are in the room. And that's the price of that community is inconvenience. And we're in a time of so much convenience. It's very hard to say no to convenience, but I think saying no to that convenience gets you a much better stand on what it means to be a leader. The last point I'll make is they've been talking about leadership. Leadership doesn't mean a position. It just means that you're able to take charge, take responsibility for what's in front of you. So what's in front of you?
That's to do anything.
I'm trying to say, guys.
You and Uncle
Anyway,
Zach, I'm trying to understand.
We probably can't put out on the airwaves, but I really think the last point I'll make is if you look at the parts of the world that have developed, that have gone beyond the current neoliberal order, that DC Washington order, are the parts where they've said you can't do these things collectively. You can't create a state where you have education that's free, you have healthcare that's free, because when you have those things, so the neoliberal approach in Uganda was the privatization of several things. So for me, I think once everything becomes a commodity, it means that you can only access the things that are important to you in life because you have money. So once you're born lacking, it's very difficult for you to even just begin. You're going to begin malnourished. You're going to begin, and now you're just struggling to live. If, say, people own vast swaths of land in this country, for instance, you need to live somewhere. So that means that person is going to be your landlord forever. Now, at a certain point, collectively, we're going to have to look at the rules we have and say, is it fair that someone can own all this privately and then charge you to live? With water, I mean, Nestle, the other time made water something that they're selling back to you. Water. If everything becomes a commodity, let me not get too far, maybe get radical. The point I'm trying to, but my point is, once you pay attention to those things, you don't have to be an academic. I mean, these large intellectual things, because the language is it's abstract. But in your everyday experience, like you're working in AI, everyone is hearing that AI is coming to take our jobs, and we get scared. Why aren't we saying to the people who are building the AI models, no, businesses exist to give us work? Why are we afraid that we're going to lose our jobs? But we don't have a voice. That voice can only come collectively. Anytime there's a problem in this country, the traders downtown know that collectively, if we say we're shutting down our shops, you're going to listen to us. But if I personally quit, you're just another person who quit. If I try and make changes as an individual, the problem is as an individual, I can be replaced. But if we can do it collectively, it's much slower, but you won't be ignored. Yeah, that's my piece.
I really love that. It has reminded me when I was reading like what is the best thing that people can do. I thought I arrived at the point that creating stuff is the best thing you can do. And then I was like, but what are the important things to learn if you want to create stuff? And one of them was you have to be able to lead. You have to be able to organize, or be part of a group. And it led me down a path where I think I ended up leading a team of thousands of people across the continent. But yeah, just reminded me of that. I like that so much.
To make it harder, a study was done in this country. So, this talk about science and technology and paying science teachers more and so on and so forth. So actually, a study was done. So, if you check the poorest subjects done at primary living examination, at secondary school, and at secondary school. One of them is mathematics. One of them is mathematics. The study was done. There is nutrition doctor at the younger ages when the brain is mature. I think it's the age of 4 or 5. And there is actually a portion of that brain that has that ability of mathematics, arithmetic, which will not develop. No, this does not explain. People like you were just lazy because you were given good food.
That's the only explanation.
But also the other is teaching. Mathematics
The way
is
it's
taught
taught.
badly
Yeah.
in this country. It's like history. So the point that you are making is that you are born poor. You have no, whatever you dream, there will be no future in technology because there's a part of your brain that didn't grow. So back to, we can all change it. Start where you are with what you have. Let's not be crippled by what we do not have. Let's see what we have. And every young person has energy. Every young person has connections. Don't look for what you don't have. And I think one of the tragedies of youthfulness, say, I don't have this, I don't have this. Oh, absolutely, you don't have. But it is what you have. So start where you are with what you have and persist. Persist. One of the key ingredients for making it, for changing our spaces, is to keep insisting. Must resist. There will be forces against you, but persist. Those who make it in life, persist, endure. And I think that those qualities need to be taught, nurtured, and the collective is powerful in discovering where we are, what we have, and actually is important, the solidarity of working together.
Yeah, I mean, I think some words have come up. Organization, and I think we see protests from young people, so they're seldom organized, and often it ends up in, unfortunately, suppression of whatever they're trying to say. And then we've had the word community come out as well, and then we've had. Let me say teamwork, and rather than it being virtual, let's work together. Let me give you an example. Since you're in the DFI world, development finance institutions, there was a few articles that came out recently about that DFIs were trumpeting their support for the healthcare sector, but when you drill into it, you find that they're actually supporting places like my own
Established
national hospital and
The ones that look like they're very profitable.
yeah, the ones that and so they're going to talk.
They're putting money into the profitable ones.
Yeah, because reasons
you can monitor it.
These guys are supposed to get repaid the money.
Yeah,
They can loan money to governments because they know that ultimately the government will probably most likely pay it back. So that's why they can give low interest rates, but then over a 30-year period they'll still get the money back. But they're not charities, it's normal. So they would look at the healthcare sector. They said, "Oh, there's a growing private healthcare sector." There's a big report done about 15 years ago. And so they started putting the money into it, but they wanted to get the money back. So they put them into the institutions that were basically the middle of the top. Yeah. So now, which is fine because I mean, I'm all for. I think you need all parts of the healthcare system to work, and it's better if we have, an IHK that's got an MRIs and can do brain surgery than people have to be shipped out of the country. So I have no. But these guys, the journalists who did it from Bloomberg and some other institutions were absolutely hypocritical. Because they went to the hospitals and they said, "Oh, you're turning away the poor, because they can't pay. Oh dear, and I was kind of like, I talked to someone. I said, "So how does the healthcare system work in America? You have to pay. I think to, and yet they were coming criticizing hospitals here who are based on a profit
for profit model,
to make, and it's hard enough, I can tell you, to make a surplus. Now, I want to put this in context. I had a conversation this week with two young people who were doctors. Both were, interestingly enough, both were clinical officers. Both went to CIU, my own university, and then they upgraded to become doctors. And both of them have started clinics in the bottom, what I call the bottom of the pyramid, middle lower part. And one guy told me, he said, what my aim is to try and break even on running costs, and then we will try to get donors to give us the capital costs, so I can get an MRI and stuff like that. And I thought I had several thoughts about it. I thought, because the first hospital I started was Chihuahua Hospital, and it was heavily donor supported. And I thought, you know what, there is no way to get to the bottom of the pyramid in healthcare and that these people can pay for it. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work in any country. You have to have socialized health services. But if somebody's actually getting some money, they've started a clinic and they're generating some, 50%, 70% of the running costs, then that's fantastic, because otherwise the whole burden is on the government to provide 100%. And you've got donors and often churches and well-wishers who are like, okay, well, if we can see you're delivering the service, we'll help you, but we're only contributing 10%, 20%, 30%. It's a very good model. So you run a commercial health center, to break even or even make a surplus. When I said to these young guys, why did you all get together? Because there was one guy in Oberara, there's another guy in Kasanje, which is done. There's another one in Tororo, and actually there's some others who are working with somebody's trying to start a student center at CIU. If you got together and you give your rationale of what you're doing, and we're not trying to be, we know that this can't be. It's hard to make the poor pay for all their care, so we're not trying to do that. However, we're actually saving a lot of money because we are bringing money into that sector, and you make your contribution. Now, the DFIs need to get the idea that if you're going to put money into that, you don't try to get all your money back. Yeah. So anyway, these three young doctors, they could start a whole federation. They can say, we've got health centers here, here, and here. We're doing this and this. This is many patients we treated. Now you give us some money, and we will continue to make sure this is run as efficiently as possible. And we're reaching these people. And I say that because at the very same day, this lady got in touch with me. And I didn't know her from Adam or from Eve in this case. And she told me this. She got to my WhatsApp and she sent me all the medical tests, and she's got fibroids. Okay, not life threatening, but they're growing, and I think she might have something else because it's painful. And I read her medical history, gave her a little bit of advice as you might have a pelvic family disease, and then she said, "Well, but I need money." I said, "Look, I don't know you. I can't just give money to strangers." It doesn't work like that. And but then later in the day, I was talking to one of these doctors, and he said, "Well, look, tell you what." I told him about this lady, and he said, "Send her to me." And I thought that's a good idea, because I know that she'll get the care. It'll be a reasonable price, and I'm not going to give her any money. I'll pay him. So that's what we arranged. I thought, you know what, you could have a good model here. And it's young people. And the young guy called Hennon, and he's still doing it in final year medicine. He's already done this clinical medicine. Such a beautiful young man, his father had a hospital in Umbra, and then he's repurposing it to a clinic. He needs help. But if you can get the networks and get that
Absolutely.
it's amazing. So it brings together the whole thing of community, of really being in touch with each other, of being able to lead in your field, and
And it's practical. It's not something way up here. It's something front of it.
I think this has been an awesome conversation. We shall definitely need a part 3 after part 2.
Absolutely.
Look at
Done.
leadership. Okay. All right. Yeah, organizer.
This is great. I've loved this. I like the ending point that we've reached out. The highlight for me next month is that I'm going to meet these 6 friends of mine from medical school. We meet. We used to meet like every week when we're in med school, but now we meet like every other quarter. Or that guys are like or yeah. And so the people across the world, but the reason that we are meeting like this is because we have a joint unit trust. We have some things we own together. And yesterday, one of the meetings I had was a brainstorming session because our money is growing and we meet like, what shall we do with this money? So we have discussions, and there's an Excel sheet, and we shall test out a couple of things. But I'm giving this story and because I want to share with the young people out there that this is possible. Yeah. We started out putting aside 20K a month when we were in medical school. And now when you look at that, it has grown every other year. The money has been increasing, and now it's like 100K, 200K a month. And when you're together, that money is much. Yeah, like you're 7 people means you're putting together 7. If it's 100K, it's 700K. Like it's, and if it's compounding over, we've known each other for like 6 years now, so you can imagine how much there is. But it's like you can start there. But you can start like that. I like the fact that we've arrived at the conclusion of organizing and working with people. Yeah.
But I think also needs to be said, 7 years. It's 7. You've had 7 years. So you don't start and expect to harvest now.
Yeah, it definitely.
And I'd say I like where we've ended, because at first it's very easy, and maybe the conversation that it's very easy to, I think the cynicism many times comes when you stick to the political stuff, because it can just feel like, now that one, as in you because you feel so helpless, right? In terms of where we are. But I think now when you translate that, because the more we talk, the more I was like, so how do we translate these big words of community and of organizing and togetherness? How do you translate them beyond the political sort of, which is also an issue and it must be addressed separately, but there's a huge group that is not going to engage that way. How do you translate them? And I think I like the examples that we've given about, in your profession, how do you come together in your, that's landed well.
The last highlight from the conversation with my friends is that when you come together, there's this multiplier effect, because now my experience that I'm having working at a private university is different. The events that I've been to, the networks they have gotten me to think about different ideas. My colleague, who is also in AI, has been in Cape Town at the university, and the things that he was telling us, like, okay, I've not thought about that one. I'm going to see that one. Then we have our colleagues who are in government, and they're like, they're in public service, and they tell us that, like, there is this multiplier effect. Yeah, there's that multiplier effect of seeing gaps. Anyways, I think it has been a very beautiful and useful conversation. And to our listeners, as usual, I hope that this conversation has gotten you to ask questions about how you can improve your life, about how you can be a better person, and enjoy it too. Thank you so much. Till next time. Okay, very good.